Okay, I think we're all set up here. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Jake Finkbonner, and I'm 22 years old. I'm a student at Western Washington University. There, I'm studying kinesiology, which is just a big word for a study of the body. I hope to attend medical school here in a few years. I spend a lot of time at school or doing homework, but if I'm not at school or doing homework, I'm going to be at work, which actually seen a few people from in here come visit me. So thank you guys so much for visiting me. I work at Coconut Kenny's in Ferndale. I'm a part-time pizza boy there. And to the rest of you, if you guys are hungry for some pizza, come on in and say hi. I'd love to serve you. Um, in my free time, I love snowboarding. I love to play basketball. I love playing card games, especially with my friends. And I do enjoy playing video games. So today I'm not just talking about who I am, but a little bit about my history. And I was a student at Assumption Catholic School here many years ago. I was in kindergarten in the year 2005, and I graduated eighth grade in the year 2013. My class was actually the 100th graduates, the centennial celebration of Assumption. And I actually attended class with Mrs. MZ's son, Zandy, one of my best friends. And Mrs. MZ, thank you so much for inviting me to speak to you guys. I'm very honored that I get this opportunity. I'm terribly sorry that I'm not able to be there in person, but I'll be coming by to visit really soon. And I know that I don't have too much time, so I'll just jump right into it. Um, when I was in kindergarten, I was playing basketball and I was dribbling down the court and I went up to shoot a layup, but the opposing team came from behind and they pushed me and I ended up falling forward and I bumped my lip on the base of the basketball hoop. And it had this really nasty cut on my face, and I didn't know at the time, but that was where I contracted a really nasty disease called flesh eating bacteria, which there was no cure for at the time. And well, it didn't start off that bad. I just had a really swollen lip, and my parents took me to the doctor to see if I had any broken facial bones, which I didn't. So they gave me a few tests and then they sent us home. The next few days after that did not go so well. I ended up getting flu-like symptoms. I started getting sicker and sicker. And my parents took me back to the doctor a few days later because my face had swollen up pretty bad. And the doctor recommended we go to the hospital because it wasn't looking great. And it was at the hospital that they determined that I would need to be taken to Children's Hospital in Seattle. And so they actually flew me in a helicopter from St. Joseph's Hospital here in Bellingham all the way down to Seattle Children's. And my parents drove down that night so they could be with me. But pretty quickly, the doctors there at Seattle Children's told my parents that they were just trying to save my life, which was a pretty big turnaround from where I was just a few days earlier. And the team of doctors that worked there, I think the most difficult thing for them was that they didn't know what was wrong with me. And so they were running tests on me every day, but my condition just kept on getting worse. And they said at this point that my head had swollen to the size of a basketball, and my condition continued to get worse. So pretty quickly, my parents reached out to our church and school community, and we were asking for prayers for me because I'd gotten so sick so fast. Um, so I would like to say thank you so much to everyone who prayed for me while I was in the hospital. We were in the hospital for pretty close to 3 months, and there was no shortage of prayers at all. So thank you guys so much for those. And um, I think it was our Ferndale priest at the time. His name was Father Tim, and we invited him down to see me in the hospital so that he could administer my last rites, which, if you remember, is a sacrament that you give to someone before they're about to die. And I believe it was then that Father Tim said that we needed to pray to a particular leader in faith by the name of Kateri Tekakwitha. We weren't super familiar with her at the time. At least I know that I've heard of her before then. But I never practiced any like regular prayer to her or anything like that. But we all took her advice, and at churches at home and at Assumption and then in the Ferndale church, everyone was praying to Saint Kateri for me to be healed. And well, the crazy thing is that it was actually in that week that my dad's aunt, who's a nun in Seattle, had a friend coming to visit. And she knew that I was in the hospital, so she wanted to come in and visit me. And she asked if she could bring a friend. And we said that was okay. We don't mind a few extra visitors. But the friend that she brought into the hospital was a nun by the name of Sister Kateri. And it was a little bit earth-shattering or earth-shaking when she came in, because just not too long ago we'd been told to pray to this Native American leader in faith named Kateri. And then here this woman was in the flesh named Kateri. And, she was very humble about it. She was very nice, like, oh, I'm nothing special. I'm just a nun here to offer my prayers. And we insisted to her that no, she was a sign from God that our prayers were being heard. And I could tell you, we were all convinced. And with Sister Kateri, she brought a little relic, which actually contains a piece of the actual, at the time, Blessed Kateri's bone. And so she and my parents and my dad's Aunt Josie, they all gathered around my bedside, and Sister Kateri placed the relic on my shoulder, and they proceeded to pray over me. And that was it. Sister Kateri went on her way. I think they took care of whatever business they had to in Seattle. But we didn't find out until later. But it was the following day that when the doctors took me in for my daily surgeries, at that point, I'd been in the hospital for a little shy of 2 months. And they told my parents that the flesh-eating bacteria had stopped, and they didn't know why. And everybody was absolutely stunned, completely shocked that this terrible disease that I'd had that was so merciless and made things look like I was certainly going to die had just suddenly stopped for no apparent reason. And the doctors themselves said that they didn't know why it had stopped. But I mean, in hindsight, it was pretty obvious that our prayers had finally been heard. And so after I left the hospital, I think I went into the hospital late January. We ended up leaving about late March. Yeah, late March. It was a little bit before Easter that we came home. And our priest recommended to us that we make a claim for a miracle to the Vatican. And he warned us that these claims don't tend to happen very quickly. In fact, that it was most likely that if we put the claim in for her to be, or for it to be recognized as a miracle on St. Kateri's behalf, that she probably wouldn't even be canonized a saint in our own lifetimes. But by the grace of God, it ended up moving very quickly. So in October of 2012, I think it was, my family and I and a bunch of the members of Assumption Catholic School got to travel to Rome, Italy, where we all witnessed the canonization of Kateri Tekakwitha becoming a saint. And yeah, it was officially recognized by the Catholic Church that Kateri had performed a miracle on my, or I'm sorry, yeah, no, that she had performed a miracle. And so um well, I guess we just jump forward to today now. That was 2012, so I was 12 years old. Here we are. I'm 22 now. That was 10 years ago that she'd been canonized. And I guess I've come not just to talk about, Kateri becoming a saint, but really to talk about the power of prayer. That it took a whole community of people at Assumption Catholic School and my church community in Ferndale. But it wasn't just that. We also got letters from people all over the United States, from loads of different states, saying that they heard about my story in their church, and that they were praying for me and my family, and they were praying for my health. And we were getting letters from all over the globe at that point. So it was pretty crazy how many people were telling us that they had been praying for me. But also, I got like loads of people who I've never met before, and they were coming to visit me in the hospital to both pray with me, or just tell my parents that they were praying for me, or offer some kind of support to my parents. So, we're my family and I are eternally grateful for everything um, that all the people that prayed for us have done, and all the support that we got, because I don't think we could have done it without everyone. And my family and I were all witnesses to God's grace, that miracles do happen, and that there is power in prayer. So I think that's about it. I don't want to take up too much of your time. So thank you guys so much for listening. And like I said, I really hope I could visit soon. If you guys see me, just give me a wave, give me a shout. Again, my name's Jake. You call me Jake, and I'll respond. So thank you guys again so much for listening. And when I come visit, I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have. So, all right. God bless.